Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast battle report. Today, Space Marines versus Dark Eldar and Eldar allies with some Space Wolves in there too. Let's get this party started. Hello and welcome to another report. There are 6 objectives on the table. We're playing another Michael Mudd Memorial Tournament mission. These are some custom objectives that we got made for the tournament that will be available at the tournament for sale in packs of 6. There's only 30 packs made, so get excited. We have the Dark Eldar won the roll-off to deploy and chose to deploy first. We have Mandrakes, a Lamian hidden behind there. We have the Warp Spiders, Trueborn inside of a Fast Attack Venom, 5 Witches inside of a dedicated Venom, a Ravager with 3 Lances, a Fast Attack Raider with Disintegrated Cannons with the Grotesques and an Autarch. In reserve we have a unit of Cabalite Warriors in a dedicated Raider with Splinter Axe. We have a Razorwing Jet Fighter. We have 8 Cabalite Warriors that will be arriving on foot with a Blaster, 2 outflanking Warwalkers with Scatterlator Bright Lance, and 3 Eldar jet bikes with Twin Link Shuriken Cannon and Catapult, For the Space Wolf Champions of Fenris primary detachment and White Scars secondary detachment, we have an Iron Priest with 2 Cyberwolves, 3 Wolves, and a Lord with a Wolf-Tooth Necklace and a big hammer and a Storm Shield. We have 5 Scouts with shotguns in a Storm that infiltrated. We have 5 Wolf Guard on bikes with a Power Axe and Storm Shield. A Combat Squad of Marines with a rocket launcher. The other 5-man combat squad is in a drop pod dedicated with melters. And then we have a Librarian, level 2 divination with Grav Centurions inside of a fast attack drop pod with a little Storm Talon as well that has the Skyhammer missiles and an assault cannon. That was a breathful. The Mandrakes have infiltrated up to this area here, and the Dark Eldar do indeed want to try and take turn 1. It is not Night Fight, and the do want to try and seize. They do not. We're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 1. Sean, rematch number 2. Let's begin. We had the Trueborn Venom stay still. This Venom move across. The Ravager move towards the side. The Warp Spiders jumped, ran, and then jumped all the way over here. They can move an incredible amount. That Raider just kind of scooted over. And then the Mandrakes also moved up. Most of the shooting went into the bikes and eliminated them with lots of poison wounds, while a Venom fired into the Space Marine unit, killing 2. They failed their morale test. Luckily, they did not run off the table. And the Ravager took a pot shot at the Thunderlord, who Lookout Surge, and the Thunderwolf at the back there has taken a wound. So we're moving on to Space Wolf and Space Marine turn 1, and we have a drop pod that will be screaming in from the heavens to do some damage. The Centurion Devastators landed but scattered wildly back. Shooting from the Grav Centurion saw this Raider die and this Ravager die as well. The Scouts have boosted into the middle, and the Thunderwolves have run, bringing around their weapons to bear. The lone rocket launcher rallied and fired into my Venom, immobilizing it. And I had jinked, so it can only snap shoot. So moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 2, and we do have some reserves to arrive. We have the Razorwing Jet Fighter that arrives. We have the outflanking Warwalkers that I will add +1 to arrive. We have the unit of walking Cabalite Warriors that I will bring on as well with the Autarch. We have the unit of Warriors in a Raider that will come on as well. And we have the Eldar Jet Bikes that I will... They don't come on and I don't care. Okay, let's move on to Dark Eldar turn 2. The reserves arrived in force. Lots of shooting. Saw 2 of the Centurions go down and the Librarian survive unscathed. The Thunderwolves lost one member from the outflanking Warwalkers, but other than that, only one wound was put on the Lord. The Warp Spiders jumped out, helped finish off this land speeder, charged into the scouts. The Sergeant is left alive, and they hit and ran back towards the Space Wolf table edge. Lots of shooting from the Mandrakes and Venom failed to kill the one rocket launcher they could see. And then the Grotesques failed their charge, rolling a 3 on difficult terrain to try and get into the Centurion force. So we're moving on to Space Wolf, Champions of Fenris, turn 2, and we have the Storm Talon and a drop pod with a combat squad arriving.
Tactical squad? No.
Does not arrive.
Storm Talon gunship?
Arrives. The flyer is on the table. We had the Storm Talon arrive and immobilize the Razorwing that did jink, put 2 hull points on it, so it's just limping forward next turn. We had the one lone rocket launcher finish the job he started and destroy the Trueborn's Venom. The Trueborn have disembarked. Then the Space Wolves split up their big unit of Thunderwolves and sent the Thunderlord against the Raider to stop the Dark Eldar movement. Sent the 2 Thunderwolves that were left against the Warp Spiders that were over here, and then sent the Iron Priest against the Toughness 5 Grotesques to try and instant kill them. The Centurions did move up and shot down and immobilized one of the Warwalkers, which was just sitting there. Now in combat, we had one wounded character Thunderwolf charge in with the other Thunderwolf. The Power Blade Exarch dispatched of the character in a challenge, and then we did put no wounds on the Thunderwolf, so they did hit and run away from the combat. In this combat here, one of these Cyberwolves challenged my Autarch to try and prevent the Shard of Inaris from killing the Iron Priest, and the Autarch killed both the wolves with the Shard of Inaris as the wounds carried over. And then the piling in Grotesques with their flesh gauntlets did 2 instant death wounds against the Iron Priest, and he failed one of his 2+ saves, killing him before the Strength 10 hits could take effect. And in combat here, the Thunderlord did dispatch of the Raider, and the Warriors are okay. So now, with the tides seem to have turned, we're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 4. Lots of shooting. Saw the Wolf Lord die to witch pistols. If you've been watching the channel for a very long time, that hasn't happened in a very long time, so it was cruelly satisfying. The Autarch jumped in, challenged the Librarian, killed him with the Shard of Inaris, and then the Centurion failed to hit and run out of combat, while the Warp Spiders killed the lone scout, and the Mandrakes failed to do any damage, shooting up into the Storm Talon, while the Trueborn jumped into the Venom that the Witches jumped out of, playing some musical chairs. So now we're moving on to Space Marine turn 3. Does the drop pod for the Marines arrive? It does. Let's see how many points the Space Wolves and Space Marines can deny the Dark Eldar. The drop pod landed on this objective here, and then the occupants got out and killed the Lamian, because then just in retribution. The Storm Talon blew up the Razorwing, and then the blast scattered over here in the middle of nowhere. And put 1 wound on the Centurion, who fell back, and I did not catch him with the Grotesques, so they just consolidated within 2 inches. And on the far flank, we had the Space Marines charged valiantly into the Mandrakes, and 2 of the Mandrakes have fallen, but they are locked in combat. We're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 4. Let's see what the end of the game brings. Witches used the drop pod as a leapfrog and charged 12 inches up. They actually made a 12-inch charge. Lots of shooting. Saw 2 of the Space Marines fall from Venom firepower, and they are insanely courageous facing off against the Dark Eldar horde. Shooting against the Storm Talon, we saw it lose 1 hull point and lose a weapon system, which were the Storm Talons, Storm Strike missiles, and it is Jane King. The last Centurion finally died to the fury of the Grotesques, while the Mandrakes killed a Marine and lost 1 of their number. So we're moving on to turn 4 for the Space Marines now. Where are the Space Wolves? There's 1 drop pod. Next turn. The Space Wolves tried to charge into the Witches, and the Space Marines killed 3 of them with shooting and didn't do anything in combat. The Mandrakes killed 1 more Space Marine. We're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 5. Oh, and the Storm Talon moved off the board. If the Witches and Warriors charged in, didn't kill anyone, and then they hit and ran towards this objective that's surrounded by warp spiders and bikes. Meanwhile, the Trueborn Venom moved out, and the 1 lone missile launcher successfully hit and ran out of combat from the Mandrakes. In movement, I put 2 units on that objective, and I surrounded that objective with fearless Cabalite warriors. So we're moving on to what could be the end of the game, with Space Marines and Champions of Fenris drop pod. Turn 5. Okay, so shooting saw the Eldar jet bikes die, which means those Marines' objectives secure that objective. This objective has objectives secured all over it, so it's nobody's. And that Venom's objective secured, and that Space Marine objective secured, so nobody controls that one. The Dark Eldar do have that one as the Storm Talon moved on in hovering mode, blew itself up in terrain, and then this unit of warriors has taken this as well. And there's an objective under here, which is indeed captured by the drop pod as well. So let's go to see if the game continues on to turn 7. And it doesn't. It is game over at turn 5. Thank you very much for the game. Any last comments, Sean?
Couple of bad rolls and critical with the Thunderwolves, and forgetting exactly what those grotesques could do in combat.
Yeah, the instant deathing grotesques with their poison weapons. Stay tuned for the Tactical Corner, which is a little segment at the end. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Check out the Patreon page if you'd like to support the channel, improve the content by supporting financially. And thanks a lot for watching. This is for the Michael Mudd Memorial Tournament, a tournament coming in November, which is going to be amazing. So check that out, the 21st of November in Stratford, Ontario, Canada. And that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Skari, your grateful host, signing off. Till next time. Skari out. And the end of the game, we have 11 points to the Dark Eldar to 5 points to the Space Wolves, which does give a 11-point victory to the Dark Eldar. Fun game. And hello and welcome to another Tactical Corner. Today we're looking at a 1500 point game versus the Space Wolves and Space Marines. We're playing a mission for Michael Mudd Memorial Tournament. Now, for those who don't know, check the links down below for more tactical stuff, different battle reports, the Patreon page, etc. But the aim of this mission was to destroy as much of the enemy army while keeping as much of your army alive and capturing 6 objectives across the entire table. The Dark Eldar going first in this mission was of keen importance, and once again, as we've seen many times against Sean, I had to annihilate his bikers that were out in the open. Now, he had set his Thunderwolves on a flank. This is a big mistake when you're using a large killy unit that moves very quickly. You want to put them central to the table and then push them towards the edge or to the corner that your opponent decides to flee towards to hem them in. Once again, I used my reserve rolls effectively, bringing them on in order to do as much damage at the trapped Space Marines as possible. Sean made a huge mistake in his second turn when he split up his big unit of Thunderwolves into 4 different units or 5 different units, sending his Thunderlord against the Raider, his Wolf Priest against my Grotesques, and his unit of Thunderwolves with no power weapons or power fists or anything against my warp spiders, which meant that not only he only killed the one raider, and in return pretty much lost the entirety of his hard-hitting units. From then on, it was pretty much mop-up for the Dark Eldar, moving into position to gain the objectives. I could have probably played more aggressively to kill more things in order to get more points in terms of the tournament if I was playing. But at the same time, I was just practicing a few things like movement, remembering what the witches could do, and really having some fun watching the mandrakes go out there and hold up a unit of tactical marines. The witches, of course, were a lot of fun to have on the table. I love my witches. It's sad that I don't get to use them very much. And tactically, in this 1500-point eclectic list, they do fit a role of tar pit and to protect smaller units in the backfield. All in all, Sean is up for another rematch at some point, and I really appreciate you guys tuning into the battle report. Make sure you subscribe, stay tuned, and look down below for more additional content. Skari out.